Hi, I'm Karla Schafer, designer for Auntie Speeds, and I'll be demonstrating how to use a two-part resin. I'm going to be using ice resin in the plunger so that the two equal parts come out at the same time. So you're going to need the ice resin, you're going to need some mixing cups and sticks, and you'll be needing some bezels of which to put the resin into, and I'm also going to be using some embellishments, and I'm using some vintage wallpaper, but you can use any kind of a print, collage, or picture. All right, the first thing I'm going to do is prepare my image for the little bezel that I'm going to be using. I'm using two different sizes here. I'm using some vintage wallpaper that I have. And what I'm going to do is show you, first of all, the best way to do it, that you can either trace out around your piece and then cut it. And it's obviously going to be a little bigger. I've already got one pre-cut, but I am going to show you a neat little trick that I finally figured out. If you go ahead and cut it to the size of the frame here, and then you can kind of put it in the finding and just kind of burnish it. You might even want to do this on a harder surface until you get with a pair of tweezers, with the end of the tweezers or something, just so you can get along the edge there. And this is just going to give you a nice little crease to cut around. And so then you can take your scissors and cut around the edge that you've made here, and then place it into your image. It's just, sometimes it's tough if you don't have an exact frame of which to put this in, but this is how I've done this image here. So now what we're going to do is we're going to glue the image into the bottom. I'm going to take my glue, and we're going to use this nun glue again, and then we're going to put it, just a little dab of it in the bottom of the bezel, glue this paper down. I'm going to put the image in the direction I want it to go. And it's good to have a paper towel or even some wet wipes around. You can clean up any glue or anything you get on the edge. I'm just going to press it in. And then we're also going to add a little embellishment to this paper, or to this little bezel. So I'm going to put the bird in there. Now you can go ahead and put a little glue underneath the bird to make him stay, or once you pour the resin, if he's where you want him to sit, he's going to stay regardless once it dries. So I'm just going to set him inside there like that. And I've also pre-prepared the other little image that I was going to use, so I'm just going to glue it into the bottom as well. And this key also will work with the little glass cabs. And we have all the sizes and what you need, information you need on the website with the hardware. So I'm just going to put this little image down into the center. And on this one, I'm also going to put a little embellishment, another little nun embellishment. I'm just going to set it in the center. And then we'll be ready to set these pieces in the two-part resin. The syringe form of this resin makes it easy for us to dispense equal amounts of the resin to mix together. Now we just push the plunger in until we get the product to flow out into the cup. And then we're going to mix it. I like to pull back on the plunger and it brings that product back out so it doesn't leak. There you go. Then we're going to take our craft stick and we're going to stir this up until it becomes uniform in color. Then you can take this stick and we're going to come over to our pieces, and we're just going to simply drip off the stick into the bezel until you can cover it. And see the little embellishments moving around in there, so it might be best to go ahead and glue it down just to keep the position. But once I get the resin in there, I can maneuver and move the embellishment around, so you don't have to worry about it. And I'm just going to go until it fills up the edges, and you just kind of move it and kind of the solution until it gets, and it's gonna, when it dries, it'll kind of dome on top there. It's a self-doming resin. So I've got this, and you're going to watch these for a good period of time and look for bubbles that will come to the surface. And if they come to the surface, you can take a pair of tweezers or a head pin or something and kind of just move the bubbles out to the side. And you're gonna want to cover them with something like maybe a plastic bowl or something to keep lint and things out of dropping into your resin. And then let it set for at least 24 hours for a good set. But you can encase just paper. You don't have to do the embellishments, but you can do dried flowers. You can do a sentimental paper. If you're using printed papers, you should seal your paper with decoupage or Mod Podge, front, back, and the edges. Otherwise, your ink will run. You just want to make sure you get it along the edges, but so that it doesn't overflow. And then you're just going to let those sit. Like I said, I would suggest covering it with a plastic bowl or something to keep them from having anything drop into them. And then your finished product's going to look like these. And they have a nice little hard shell and a nice little dome to them. And you can use them as charms and pendants and necklaces or whatever you desire.